I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honor to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favorite podcast, Pop Culture Pastor.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody, before we even get started, I want to like make sure my intentions are clear. Is there a word that I can use besides woke? I feel like that word has too many like connotations in the usage.
Progressive?
No, that's exactly. So woke is an insult, right?
Not always.
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying is like some people
have reclaimed it. It is now a fancy way of saying progressive.
Yeah, but that's not the way everyone uses it or the way everyone takes it. So I want a new word that means, so like, here's the funny thing about conservative and progressive, conservative and liberal. Like conservative extremists, they just call them conservative extremists, right? I guess they call them MAGAs.
Right wing, MAGA.
Or Nazis. They might call them Nazis. Yeah.
No, there's a lot of terms that get thrown around for the far right.
And so in the couple news items we have, they're both going to be in this area where I don't want to use the word woke because I don't want it to be I don't want to use it as an insult in a political manner, right? I want a word that means, hey, we might be stretching a little too far out of the realm of logic. Because both of these stories we're going to share in the news segment here, we're stretching a little too far, where we're leaving logic behind.
I'll have to hear the stories before I give my cool word that I haven't thought of yet.
Okay. But because I want to intro with that because I don't want to use the word woke because I don't want people to think I'm using it as an insult. But I don't know what the other vocabulary is, right? So maybe all listeners, you can help out.
Extremist.
Extremists? They're
That's
just
what I
extreme
want to
thinking.
go. Because
but this isn't really that extreme.
One direction or the other. Well, if it is
nobody's getting hurt here.
If it's something that someone thinks is too radical, then it's extreme.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a good explainer. I've got two stories, and they're both, in my opinion, maybe we've gone a little too far. We've got a little. You started with a good idea, which I could get on board with. Like, okay, maybe not. I don't know. But then you went to this place where it was like, all right, let's start with the live action remake of The Little Mermaid.
Okay. Like, I thought this horse was already dead.
No. We're not talking about the actress who looks lovely, by the way.
Yes.
I'm sure this is going to be, she's going to be great in the role. Did you know they're changing the words of some of the classic songs? Like they're changing the music.
Well, I would hope so.
Why? The music's classic. It's incredible.
If you're just going to do a shot-for-shot remake of the cartoon, leave the cartoon alone.
Okay, but okay.
Well,
what
you
if
need updated songs? You need updated scores. It needs to be a completely different movie.
Didn't they use the same music in Beauty and the Beast and Lion King remakes? I mean, they had new songs for sure, but the songs that were redone from the classic, I mean, they were pretty much beat for beat remakes.
Almost. Scores might have been slightly different.
Yeah, not the score. I don't care about the score. We're talking about
I care about the original score.
Music. Would it move you at all to if the original composer wasn't happy about it? The guy who wrote the lyrics to begin with.
Well, it depends on what lyrics we changed.
Okay. If there was a song that you thought might be problematic on The Little Mermaid, do you have a guess of which one it was?
All of it.
No, stop it.
I don't know. Like, Under the Sea is the only song I would go to from The Little Mermaid to begin with.
Yeah, that's the only one you can think of, and it's clearly not that because there's nothing wrong with that song. It's
part of your world might be part of it.
One of the songs is "Poor Unfortunate Souls," which is
that's Ursula's song.
Ursula's song, and the lyric they're changing. Alan Menken, who's the guy that originally wrote the songs,
Alan
said that one had to be revised because the original contained lines that might make young girls somehow feel that they shouldn't speak out of turn, even though Ursula is clearly manipulating Ariel to give up her voice. So the lyric that Ursula sings in the original is, quote, "The men up there don't like a lot of blabber. They think a girl who gossips is a bore. Yet on land, it's much preferred for ladies not to say a word. And after all, what is idle babble for?" And then she advises Ariel, "It's she who holds her tongue who gets a man." But she's clearly manipulating her, right?
She is.
Like, we're not offering life advice from the villain of the story.
Although I would say that lyric is just wordy.
Also, is saying, like, are we not going to even approach the logic of holding one's tongue anymore?
No.
Think before you speak. We used to say these things all the time, and it wasn't like just for girls. It was for everybody. I don't know. That just seems like, why do we have to take everything at the extreme most,
So
most
for
extreme
this
version?
one, I'm okay with changing.
Yeah.
It's Ursula's song. No one cares about Ursula. B, I think that historically, although, like you said, those phrases were common things back in the days of yore for both men and women, women have typically not had the voice or platform. And with Disney trying to be more progressive, removing that, it doesn't affect the song. It doesn't affect the storyline.
Well,
she can still manipulate, and she can still cause Ariel to do whatever she's going to do.
Let me offer up a couple of points here. Counterpoints to what you just said. Well, not one. It's not really a counterpoint. One, I don't really care. They can do whatever they want to the story. It's not like, I like the cartoon. I like the original. That's fine. I like
Flounder's the best.
But I don't care what they change. It's their story. But number two, you said something in there that Disney wants to be progressive. Let's be real clear. Disney doesn't care about being progressive.
They want the money from being labeled progressive.
It's just, they want the money for being labeled progressive.
Yes.
Right. They want the good press. That's it. They don't care.
I know they don't.
They literally, look, I saw a poster for this where it's Ariel and her sisters. They're literally all different nationalities. And I'm like, what's happening here? We can't even put a family as all different, or all the, looking similar. We have to make them all it doesn't make any sense. What's happening?
Does she have sisters, or are those?
Oh, no.
friends?
The picture that was shared, it was this is Ariel and her sisters. It came straight from Disney. Now they're her sisters. I don't know. It's weird. The whole thing's weird.
I'm just saying, sisterhood. It could be friendship.
They did not mean it in the sense of sisterhood.
Well,
it
we'll have
literally
to watch
said Ariel and her sisters.
I don't remember Ariel having sisters in the cartoon.
Well, she does in the movie.
Well, we'll have to see.
And apparently they're all different moms. Triton was getting around.
Well, that's quite possible. That's why men are the worst.
Men are trash. Kiss the Girl would be the other song that's getting changed.
Yeah, that the version is a guy that's singing. Yeah,
it's the crab.
No, well, yeah, but they have a new updated one. I like it.
So if you remember, Ariel makes a deal with Ursula to trade her beautiful voice for legs, human legs, so she can explore the world above and impress Prince Eric. So she gives up her voice, so she can't talk. So she enlists her friends to kind of help set the mood. Why? Because she wants him to fall in love with her.
This is true.
There is a social contract happening even without words. And the crab starts singing Kiss the Girl. But Alan Menken says they wanted him to change it because people, quote, people have gotten very sensitive about the idea that Prince Eric would in any way force himself on Ariel. He said that in an interview with Vanity Fair. So in the classic, she needs him to kiss her. Mm-hmm. And so the song's lyrics urge Prince Eric to kiss Ariel before it's too late. In the original lyrics, the crab Sebastian sings, "Yes, you want her. Look at her, you know you do. Possible she wants you too. There's only one way to ask her. It don't take a word, not a single word. Go on and kiss the girl. But again, that's what she's wanting. There's like an unspoken social contract here.
Well, I mean, clearly she gave up her voice so she could be up above with him. So like she made a sacrifice.
Right.
And within the story, yes.
Yeah. So Megan's not happy about it, but he did it. He's going to change the words. But my point is,
he's
like,
about that money.
If you just take the lyrics of the song and put them in a vacuum where it doesn't have the context of what was happening, then I suppose, yeah, it sounds kind of bad. But why do we do that? Because they didn't happen in a vacuum. They happened in a story.
Because Disney has Sirius Disney and all their other Disney FM channels, and kids sing along, and there's not a movie going when they're singing along to the song.
Man, I sang along to this song. It was an awesome song.
So
plus Sebastian had that awesome voice.
Now it is more PG to sing in your parents' car, and there's no question.
He had that Caribbean flair going on, like, yes, you want her.
Yeah.
Look at her, you know you do. Possible she want you to.
Yeah. So, I definitely.
You looked uncomfortable. You were very uncomfortable.
You
there.
can't do a Caribbean voice.
I can't?
No.
Why not?
Because that is cultural appropriation.
Well, what is it when I do an impression of Sylvester Stallone? Isn't that different culture? What's his accent?
He's white.
Yeah, but he's got an accent of some sort that I don't have.
East Coast.
Isn't that a cultural appropriation?
Nope.
Why not?
Because he's white.
But I'm not that culture. That's East Coast culture. I'm appropriating that culture. So
You're white.
I can appropriate white culture.
Yes.
That's weird. That's weird. Also, it assumes that I don't have a reverence for it.
It does.
Does Eminem have a reverence for black culture?
I don't know. I haven't met Marshall.
Marshall Mathers clearly, I'll answer my own question. He clearly has a reverence for it. Like, he's not diminishing it. He's not making fun of it. Why is it okay for him? The cultural appropriation thing's weird too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, listen, I don't care how you make their movie, whatever, just make their movie. I thought it was an interesting story because the guy that wrote the song, who is, he's not doing a voice. That's his voice. He is, has Caribbean nationality of wherever he's from. I don't know where he's from, but clearly has some ancestry in there. And he sang the song, and that he didn't be like, well, that crab is appropriating my culture.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird time to be alive.
It is.
But I hope they do. I hope the movie does well. I hope it's good.
I don't have any ill will towards it, besides that I'm tired of them making live action versions of movies that were already good.
Yeah, it's weird. They're going through all of them. They're doing the live action remake of Moana. It's like it came out just a few days ago, seems like.
Well, Dwayne is hard up right now.
When are they going to do Frozen? Because that's what's coming. They got to do Frozen.
When Kristen Bell and the lady
Adele Azim,
that Jonathan Travolta butchered her name, decide we need the money.
That's a deep cut. Adina Menzel. No, they'd have to de-age them. They're getting a little up there in years. They're supposed to be young.
I'm just saying.
I think they got to cast them young. Then
I'm out.
Someone call Ariana Grande.
I'm out.
All right. That's cool. Let's go to our second part of the this conversation, because this is similar in nature. Although this one's I don't even know where to start with this one. So Netflix has a series coming out, a trailer for a new docudrama anthology.
I hate docudramas. I love documentaries, but I don't want to
You're not a fan of historical fiction?
It has to be done very well. Yeah. Most of the time it's not.
How about a show about Cleopatra where she is played by an African American, I believe. Black actress. That's just what it says. Adele James starring as Cleopatra. There's been some pushback on this, and Jada Pinkett Smith, who is the executive producer, I guess. This is part of her African Queens docudrama. So Egypt's in Africa.
It very much is.
And so, like, great. That's awesome. You're making this thing. You cast a black actress in it, which is fine. Do whatever you want. Cast it however you want. Like, we've been doing that. White people have been doing that for years. Casting white people. Like, you know, we cast white people for years in places where there should have been people of color. So, like, look, I'm not mad at them. However, she made a statement where she said that we did intentionally decide to depict her this way because that's what she was. Jada Pinkett Smith says that she was an African queen. And I like, listen, this isn't some historians. This isn't most historians. This is all historians. This is not 99.9% think. No. Cleopatra was the end of a line of rulers of Egypt called the Ptolemies, the Ptolemaic dynasty, which started with a general of Alexander. So Alexander conquers the Persian Empire, leaves his general in charge, who is Macedonian, and they're all Macedonian. They're all European. How do I know that? Because they inbred.
You're saying that they're probably more of Mediterranean descent?
Yes, that's exactly. She's European. and she's depicted a lot. Like, she commissioned artwork when she was pharaoh, or I don't even know if they called her that when she was in charge, the very short time she was in charge. But she probably had red hair. She's depicted a lot in ancient, art with red hair. And like, look, I don't really care. But like I don't care that they cast the actress they cast. Again, you can present the story any way you want. That doesn't bother me at all. Like, that's fine. Make whatever vision you want to make. But my problem is this part where we just say stuff. Like, she just said, well, she was an African queen. Cleopatra didn't look like Liz Taylor. You know, Elizabeth Taylor so famously portrayed her. It was like, well, she looked more like Elizabeth Taylor probably. You know, like, and I don't want to get into but this more. It's like, the point is, what I really don't like is, why do we just say stuff and then it's like, that's true?
Like, I get it. Cleopatra is probably one of the most famous of the female Egyptian rulers. Nefertiti would have been a great one. Mm-hmm. There were several women who either were married to the pharaoh or took over for the pharaoh and became pharaohs themselves. And like, yeah, if you want to depict someone from the earlier dynasties that would have actually been Egyptian, not of the Ptolemy family.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about Egypt is it's actually, even at this time, very multicultural.
Very much so.
For the continent of Africa, it's extremely multicultural. There's a period of history in Egypt where the Nubians, or who they called, are the ones in charge, and they would be more the darker skinned people, and there were queens in that time. Like, you could make these stories, but Cleopatra has a name recognition, and you know, she's making an anthology series on African queens, and I don't know. Part of me is just like, make stories about the real ones. I want people of all different backgrounds and ancestry to be able to look on screen and see representation of the people that they could look up to and look back and say, hey, we were queens once. Mm-hmm. We were queens. That's important. But like, pick the ones that actually happened, that were actually real. I feel the same way when we do the James Bond discussion. It comes up every other year or so. Let's just cast Idris Elba as James Bond. Like, no! James Bond is an imperialist relic. He's a terrible character to race switch. He's supposed to be white and out of touch. Like, make a new character that, actually you can attach some pride to. I don't know that people shouldn't be prideful of James Bond. I don't know that he's a great guy. He's certainly not in the books.
Well, Sean Connery made him seem really cool.
Sean Connery was kind of cool. Yeah. Anyways, what do you feel? It's not that big of a deal, really. Like I said, I'd probably watch it.
I will not be watching it.
You do not like docudramas.
I despise most docudramas. I'm like, why don't you just tell me, like, what this person was like? I don't need the extra fluff added. Like, that's part of my reason that I'm really hesitant with watching more of The Chosen, because you take liberties, because like literally that series would be over in like 2 episodes or like a season. Mm-hmm. Let's say that a season. And however long that season might be, it depends. But like, there's not enough source material to be like, well, Jesus for sure said this, and Matthew was for sure like that, and Peter, he had a gambling problem, and like, no, I don't need that fluff. I just need the information of, like, you can tell from the way that all the gospel writers depict Peter that he was brash. Okay. That's good.
Okay, yeah, but is it your opinion that documentaries are just more factual? Because a documentary could lie to you just like a docudrama could. So
with especially historical figures, now like the wild, far out there documentaries that we usually review, like, okay, just tell me a good story at that point. Mm-hmm. But like History Channel back in the day, we're bringing on a professor of history from Columbia University. Like, I want that level of credibility.
What have you watched Ancient Apocalypse on Netflix?
I have not.
The guy who goes around and tries to convince you that there was an Atlantis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, and like all the scholarly community was like, this guy is terrible.
Oh, that's the guy that. So he wasn't the main guy on it. He was only on a handful of episodes, or every so often. Was on Ancient Aliens.
He was on that too?
Yes, he was.
Yes. Well, you know what? Like, I do. So I've been watching Ancient Apocalypse for the entertainment value, of course. Plus, there's. You can still learn real history.
Oh, yeah, because like Ancient Aliens, they would go to like these structures in South America, and I'm like, that's really cool looking.
Yeah, exactly.
And how did they build that 5,000 years ago?
And that's kind of how I'm watching this series, Ancient Apocalypse. I'm a few episodes in. They go to these really cool sites. And of course, I know that they're conjecturing a lot. And so when he starts what he thinks is going on, I take it with a grain of salt and move on. It's like, but that's what annoys me about the establishment is that should be our view of everything. Mm-hmm. Like, why do we think we're so confident we have everything figured out? Well, Cody, let me tell you this. 4,000 years ago, this happened, and then this happened. Like, you're going off of things that there are very few documented, existing documented things for. Like Julius Caesar, that he was a real dude that existed. There's only I think 8 surviving actual documents that list him as him. So what we know about him is based on actually very few documented things.
Shakespeare.
That come from that time, I should say. These, of course, people have written about him after the fact.
Such as Shakespeare.
Yeah. And if you haven't read Julius Shakespeare or Julius Caesar by Shakespeare, you should, because it's really good.
Or had a Caesar salad. I have the hiccups right now.
Bless you.
Yeah, like I'm trying not to hiccup all over.
Please don't vomit on the microphone.
I'll be fine.
We better take a break. This could get dicey. Fast. All right. What do you guys think about the news? I intentionally found a couple things that were worth talking about. Like, does this sort of thing bother you? Does it not bother you?
Hot button issues.
It's a hot button issue. Like, politically, I don't care. I don't really care. You can make your movie how you want to make it. But where Jada Pinkett Smith's just going to say something that's like clearly I keep saying most, all historians are like, nope, that's probably not true. I don't know. It's just weird how we just say stuff.
So I'm going to say something just to be controversial like my friend Jada.
All right. Get ready to clip this. We got to record this. This might go on a clip. Go for it.
Lindsey Buckingham was the most talented songwriter in Fleetwood Mac. I said it. I named it and claimed it.
Shocking Stevie Nicks slander.
It was.
All right. We'll be right back. All right, Cody, it's Be Kind Rewind.
It is. And I finally got my hiccups under control.
That's good. That's good. It's the 25th anniversary. I had to say that a couple times because I can't believe it. Until I rewatched the movie, then I was like, yeah, this did not age well.
So before we started watching this movie, my wife's like, who directed it? And simple Google search revealed one Mikey Bay.
Yeah, I didn't even need to Google search.
As soon as the cinematography took place, I'm like, oh, this is Bay-tastic.
I don't think I'd rewatched this movie since my last watch of Pearl Harbor, which was another Michael Bay movie. And I kept watching this movie and noticing the real Michael Bayism stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And there was a lot of stuff that I remember seeing in Pearl Harbor, which the really jingoistic stuff, which I kind of forgot about Michael Bay, like the American patriotic jingoistic stuff. It's kind of wild, but we'll get to that. I added a category. So right now, let me just run down the categories of how we're going to break this film down.
Which we haven't even introduced it.
Oh, it's Armageddon.
Ayo!
1998's Armageddon. One of two meteor hits the Earth movies that came out.
I was going to say, there's one that comes out about the same time.
Deep Impact, which is another movie. They competed. They came out the same year. Deep Impact was like more serious, more gritty. It was like the DC.
And if Deep Impact's the one I'm thinking it is.
It has Taya Leone, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. And Elijah Wood.
Yeah. A lot of people in both these movies, but like, okay, so if these movies were scientists, Deep Impact would be Neil deGrasse Tyson. Armageddon would be Kid Rock. That's about the best way I can explain it. If these movies were scientists, Deep Impact would be Neil deGrasse Tyson. Armageddon would be Kid Rock. I said what I said. Okay, so we're going to do a broad take on the movie. We're just going to kind of refresh you on what it's about. Then we're going to talk about what holds up. We're going to talk about what doesn't hold up. And then I'm adding a new category for this one alone. Because what doesn't hold up is not enough. I also added what's ludicrous. What's ludicrous? Like
this movie's 100% factual. I'm pretty sure.
I had to add it. I'm about a third through watching the movie last night, and I'm like, this isn't even what doesn't hold up. This is ludicrous. Like, this is absolutely insane. And I had to make a new category. Then we're going to do the ones you're used to. Are there biblical themes? Who's the winner of this movie? Who's the loser of this movie?
The perfect winner and loser.
All right. Well, I'm excited to get there. Let's start with a broad take, kind of rundown on the movie. Armageddon, as we said, came out in 1998. Here is the summary, the little blurb. When an asteroid threatens to collide with Earth, NASA honcho Dan Truman, played by Billy Bob Thornton, determines the only way to stop it is to drill into its surface and detonate a nuclear bomb. This leads him to renowned driller Harry Stamper, played by Bruce Willis, who agrees to helm the dangerous space mission provided he can bring along his own hotshot crew. Among them is AJ, who Harry thinks isn't good enough for his daughter, played by Liv Tyler. AJ played by Ben Affleck.
Batfleck.
Until the mission proves otherwise. In a world where an asteroid is heading for Earth.
So the only thing I really remembered besides some of the faces in this movie was the size of the asteroid.
Oh, it's huge.
It's the size of Texas.
The size of Texas, he says in the movie. This movie made $553 million.
So I will tell you how it made that much money.
How did it do it?
Because my wife must have seen it a few times because she was quoting lines during this. She even knew like almost every line from the Russian guy. And I'm like, why?
Look, I'm gonna tell you something, and we'll revisit it at the end because the final question is going to kind of deal in this subject. I watched this movie a lot, and I liked it.
Why?
Okay, at no time was I under the impression that this was cinematic brilliance. Like, it's not supposed to be taken that way. I think it's supposed to be kind of a joke.
I know too many people that in 98 into the early aughts took it very seriously.
I mean, I could see that, but it is so...
It's not Evil Dead.
Ridiculous and out there and corny. I laughed so many times watching it last night. I had a great time watching it. It's so entertaining. But yeah, I also felt emotions. Like there's a particular part at the end where I feel emotions and I'm like, this is silly.
So my wife, who Leah, she's been on the show.
Yeah. She is an emotional person.
She's a very emotional person. Like even during superhero flicks that weren't in game, she gets choked up. And so I look at her towards the end of the film and I'm like, you're going to cry. And she's like, no, this thing is so ridiculous. 3 minutes later, tears are rolling down her face. And I'm like, called it.
Same. All right. So yeah, listen, this doesn't take a long time to give you a take on the movie. Asteroid headed for Earth. It's the size of Texas. It's going to crash into the Earth. It's going to end all life. NASA has to save the day. They recruit a team of drillers who are drilling out in the Gulf of Mexico. Roughnecks, as they're called, who are going to drill into the asteroid so they can plant a nuke and then get off of that asteroid so it can break up before hitting the Earth. That's the plot.
I love the scientist that gives the analogy. He's like, it's like a firecracker.
Yeah. Listen, the script is awful. Some of the dialogue is terrible, except, and we'll get into this. Let's just start right now. What holds up? This movie works because the actors they got are highly entertaining actors. Like they juice up this bad script just because they're who they are. Billy Bob Thornton is fantastic. I don't know if he's ever done a better performance. No, forget Sling Blake. This is his best performance because I don't know if he thought he was in a different movie because he's acting his rear end off in this movie.
I was ready to give an Oscar to Bruce Willis.
I mean, he was amazing too.
He's being dead serious throughout the whole thing.
He is playing it so straight up. And what's crazy is do you know the circumstances of why he's in this movie?
Because it's a bad bet, probably.
No, he doesn't make a lot of money for this movie. And he was a big star by this time. Let me tell you what happened. He was supposed to be in a movie for Disney called Broadway Brawler. But apparently he was so immensely difficult to deal with. They just stopped it in the middle of a production and canceled it. And then they sued him. Disney sued Bruce Willis. And so to avoid that, he settled with him. He made a deal that he would star in 3 movies for Disney at a greatly reduced salary. The first of which was Armageddon, which he was making $20 million a movie at this point. He took 3. He made $3 million.
Deal.
Yeah. So he was like in a real corny Disney movie. Remember, like one of the three was the kids movie where he had the bad hairpiece. He's got a bad hairpiece in this movie too. Like, if Bruce Willis had hair, it was a bad hairpiece. Anyways, that's why he's in this movie.
Oh.
But you're right. He's amazing. Both him and Billy Bob, the delivery of the lines, they just sell out on it completely. They're so into when he's giving them the list of demands, Bruce Willis, again, it might be the best acting of his career. I was so impressed. He's like, he gets through all the demands and he's like, oh, yeah, they never want to pay taxes again, ever. He just sells it. Oh, man, there's so much good acting.
I was really wanting to find out who killed JFK.
They're like, can you tell us who really killed Kennedy? No. And then he turns around and he shakes his head no. As if they were hanging on that. Like, there are some genuinely, like, really entertaining parts of this movie, and it's all because of the charisma of the actors, in my opinion. Like, they really did something very smart in the making of this movie. And it was like, hey, this movie's going to be ridiculous, but we're going to play it serious. So go get the most charismatic actors we can get. And Ben Affleck.
Yes. Ben has like a couple scenes where it's like, okay, you fit in. And then there's several scenes where I'm like, why?
Yeah, let me back up a little bit. I took a shot at Ben. This is very early in Ben's acting career. He hadn't really done a lot of acting to this point, and so he's a little rough. He does I think he's a good actor. I do. He just wasn't at this point. He was a little rough.
I will say they perfectly cast Liv Tyler.
Oh yeah,
because at a moment's notice, she's ready to cry.
Yeah, she holds up great.
Oh, yeah. Liv might be giving her best performance in a movie she's in.
Yeah, Liv was great in this movie. And she doesn't really get a lot to do other than be like the poor girl who's losing her dad and her fiance.
And hates her dad for the first 2/3 of this flick.
What do you got that holds up?
Let me go to my list. The general who is in Community and does the voice for the Marines commercials.
Keith David?
Yes.
The Arby's guy? We have the meats guy?
Mm-hmm. I need more dialogue out of him because he was nailing it.
Oh, man. He's an incredible character actor. He's the dad in Something About Mary. So fantastic. That dude just chews up scenery every time he's in it.
Just know that meteor shower is not Santa Claus.
A ridiculous line. But you get someone charismatic to deliver it, and it seems hardcore. It seems great.
Let's see. So I love that the crew that we send up.
Oh yeah.
It's the coach from Remember the Titans that was not Denzel Washington. We got Bruce Willis. We got Owen Wilson. Wow. John Coffey and Ben Affleck.
Yeah, the supporting cast. Like, again, they went with these. Like, so this is obviously a time when...
Don't forget about Steve Buscemi. But
Buscemi's he's just about to kind of blow up in his time. Billy Bob, throw him in there. Owen Wilson is very young here. Michael Clark Duncan, this is his breakout role.
It is. And
Will Patton was the guy you mentioned from Remember the Titans. He's in a lot of these Bruckheimer movies.
He is.
He's great though. He's so good. He's in this movie, you can tell he's a guy that you shouldn't probably like. Like, he's clearly got some problems. He's a gambling addict. He's pretty much abandoned his family. You can tell at some point.
He's just the salesman that comes by the house occasionally.
Yeah. But the way he looks and his facial expressions, you can't help but feel for you. Like, I want to feel for this guy. Oh, he's great. Will Patton. What an amazing actor.
I will also say at one point, someone from NASA nailed it when they said, I agree, your men are the biggest mistake in NASA history.
Yeah, Jason Isaacs. Yeah. So he's a real, like, everyone is a real actor in this. They just got him young. So Jason Isaacs is just the smart, brilliant guy who doesn't know how to put a drill together, because Bruce Willis comes in and like, this is crap. This is trash, you know?
It's Garbaggio.
But it's Jason Isaacs. That's an accomplished actor. Eddie Griffin's in it for 30 seconds.
He is. And I'm pretty sure his dog dies because of asphyxiation.
Udo Kier is the psychologist, another really recognizable character actor.
So I guess something that holds up that I didn't know and my wife did know, the space dementia thing.
Yeah, real thing.
Real thing. And NASA protocol is to restrain anyone that is behaving recklessly, especially if they are assumed to have space dementia.
With duct tape.
With duct tape.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
That's a real NASA thing.
So you might have thought this is some phony baloney. No siree, Bob.
No, that's a real deal. That's right out of the NASA handbook.
It is.
So space dementia and an actual thing. And if in order to get them to keep them from hurting themselves or anyone else, you tape them up with duct tape. That was a real thing that they did. Okay. Other things that hold up. I mentioned Will Patton, like the supporting actors. I'm just kind of going through all these guys. Will Patton, these characters, having these wildly charismatic guys, these character actors, as I said before, like some of the dialogue is so cheesy, but the way they deliver it in the scene where they activate the bomb from Earth, and Will Patton is looking, it's like, the clock on that 8-foot nuclear weapon is ticking. Like, oh my goodness. That is an amazingly delivered line. His facial expression is unbelievably. I was just watching this last night. I was blown away about how awful this movie should have been. And kind of like, look, it's funny. I laughed at a lot of these serious parts. But part of my laugh was because I'm so impressed by these people acting it out, who, like, the trick is, like, so here's the trick to acting. The good actors will sell out no matter how ridiculous it is. So, like, the reason me and you couldn't be actors, Cody, is because to get there in our minds, we couldn't go there. We couldn't get all the way there. You got to sell out on it. And they're so sold out on the situation they're in, which is totally ridiculous. They land on an asteroid. Oh, they slingshot around the moon. It's just crazy.
They missed their mark by 26 miles. And somehow Ben Affleck, who should be dead, he finds them. After going all Evel Knievel, jumping over a canyon.
We'll get there. That's in my That's Ludicrous section. All right. What else holds up? Anything else? Also another line from Will Patton. What are you doing with a gun in space?
Well, my wife pointed out it will be in the ludicrous section.
We'll wait there. The ludicrous section is going to be quite full. You got any more that?
No, I got nothing.
Okay, what doesn't hold up? This is not quite ludicrous.
What doesn't hold up would be basically Steve Buscemi.
Not
his
Steve Buscemi, his character. Yeah,
does not hold up.
Yeah. This didn't age well, did it?
Not for him.
No.
MIT grad and like super intelligent dude, super creep.
Yeah. There's a running joke when in the movie where he keeps joking about like, she didn't tell me her age, as if he's trying to defend himself from going after a young girl. Like, and Steve Buscemi doesn't look like he's always looked older. Like, this dude doesn't look like he could pass for 20, any 20s for that matter. No 20s. Did you know that he took this role because the character was not written that way? Buscemi was in a run of playing a lot of kind of slime balls.
Yeah.
And he was looking for a change. That's why he signed on to play Rockhound, the MIT grad, the genius. But as they were doing the movie, they kept rewriting the script. And because it was Steve Buscemi, they kind of kept making him sleazier. And, well, the rest is history.
Because, on the oil rig, there is the most awkward conversation about Liv Tyler coming into her womanhood and him, Steve Buscemi, showing her how to use hygiene products.
Yeah. And then later on in the movie, they're all like, we practically raised her, Harry. She's our daughter, too. I'm like, no, bro.
No.
You don't get to talk that way like you did earlier and then be like, we kind of raised her. Like, no.
They're a bunch of pervs.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. So none of that stuff holds up very well. It was kind of cringy. I watched with my oldest daughter. Yeah. And she was like laughing in a kind of,
this is
real awkward way. Like, oh, it's like, yeah, that's the proper reaction. Yeah. That does not hold up well. From the very beginning, you know what doesn't hold up well? They're showing the credits at the beginning, screenplay. One of the names listed up there, J.J. Abrams.
Son of a gun.
Yikes.
That explains everything.
Very early on in the movie, I was struck by
an asteroid?
No, by something we don't get to see much after 9/11, which is New York getting pummeled with buildings falling down.
Oh, yeah.
So after 9/11 happens, you don't see that in movies anymore. In fact, usually it moved to like L.A. You see L.A. getting pummeled a lot, but not New York. They really moved away from that because the imagery proved to be too much. And I actually cringed at some of that scene where like Empire State Building kind of falls on people.
Well, one of the Avengers movies takes place in New York.
Yeah, but there's not like, they don't make a big deal about buildings falling.
Yeah.
Like that was the big difference. There was that scene
or throwing
in
a taxi cab across New
There was
York.
a scene in particular that made me cringe, which was the Empire State Building falling and seeing like the dust and all that. And I was like, oh yeah, this was before 9/11 where we didn't mind that. In fact, there were a lot of movies with that, but not after 9/11. So that was, I don't know that it doesn't hold up. It was just, we don't do that anymore.
Something else that really wouldn't hold up in a real world scenario. The United States is the only ones that are concerned about this. We're the only ones sending people out there. We're the only hope, and no other nations have offered to help.
It's a very rah-rah USA movie.
Oh, the American flags everywhere in this.
You want a dramatic shot? It's something slow motion of a character or characters in front of a huge American flag.
Ben Affleck, I'm going to shoot through this American flag and ride on out.
Also, did you notice this? Has Michael Bay ever been to Middle America?
No.
When they were showing like the vignettes, like when the president's talking and they're showing like the scenes of people listening on their transistor radio. There's like a scene of the little black kid with the transistor radio. I'm like, what year is this? The people that were clearly Middle America, like one was in a 1950s truck. Another was in a barbershop listening to like what looked like a radio from the 60s. I'm like, wait a minute. This takes place in the present day. Why does all the Middle America shots in the vignette look like it's a Norman Rockwell painting?
We're going into the storm cellar. You're going to die. Like, don't go there. Something else that didn't hold up, and it was very early on in the movie, is so NASA says 18 days and this meteor hits the Earth. We fly Bruce Willis and his daughter in, and they say they've been flying for 18 hours. And then he's like, I need my team. I don't want your jabronis. And they all get brought in, but they're like all over the world at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And when they finally get gathered, it's like they hadn't seen each other in forever.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
no. You're right. The time is whack.
oh, yeah.
They've literally, like, Bruce Willis and Liv Tyler were gone for 18 hours. And my man, Ben Affleck,
started his
own company. He's gathered the resources. He's found oil. He's acquired the rights to land. It was in mid-drill.
Yes.
In what, 18 hours? This dude's the greatest businessman ever. What happened?
We're at Las Vegas at the casino. Michael Clark Duncan's at like Sturgis. It was bananas.
Oh. Yeah, that was wild. I thought the same thing. I was just like, wait, they were gone 18 hours. Owen Wilson's like in Wyoming.
Yes.
Getting chased down by Apache helicopters. Like, what's happening right now? Yeah, the timing was all sorts of off. The rest of the cast. Now, we talked about the cast that was good. There's like a lesser cast that doesn't quite hold up. The President of the United States.
Oh, I have beef with him, but I'll wait till the absurd.
He says a line when they're explaining to him the situation, which is a part of any like disaster movie when they realize the severity of it. The way he says it, I just immediately started crying because he goes, "Oh my God." Like it's delivered in such a deadpan way. It's like when in Tommy Boy, when Tommy Boy's making fun of that line, like that delivered that way. Oh my God. It's just like, would the president really say that?
Yes. Yes.
Joe Biden, would he say that?
I can see Biden and Nixon for sure saying it.
No, he'd just come down there and be like, I came here for the ice cream. I was told there was going to be ice cream. Yeah, so some of the lines, okay, what we learn is all of the script is pretty bad. But when you don't have the charismatic actor in place to deliver the line, it's almost laughable.
It was laughable.
Yeah.
There was some laughing.
Do you have anything else in this category? Is there all the rest of it just ludicrous? Because I have one more thing that's kind of borderline.
It's not something that holds up, but it's something that's kind of an amazing fact. We've added 2 billion people since this movie came out.
Yeah, 25 years.
Yeah.
What'd they say, 6 billion?
Yeah, they're like 6 billion people's lives are at risk.
6 billion people.
Now we're at 8.
Yeah, now we're at 8. And we wouldn't care. The other thing I had in my what doesn't hold up, the Russian cosmonaut, played by Peter Stormare. I'm pretty sure that that's racist, the way they have him acting. I'm just not smart enough to tell you how. But come on. What is happening with that guy?
Again, my wife quoted every line from him.
Because he's a great charismatic actor and character actor.
She was like,
but that's got to be a stereotype, right?
Oh yeah, it is. And like him calling them cowboys, and I was all for it.
And acting like he's drunk.
Yes,
like he appears to be drunk, although you never see him take a drink. And I'm just, the whole time I'm like, okay, he could be, quote, a little loopy, like they said he might be because he'd been up there for so long. But also he's a cosmonaut who's lived in space for 18 months. I'm pretty sure the dude's smart. Why do they make him off to be like a weirdo?
Because we still haven't gotten over what Drago did to Creed in Rocky IV. I know who the real villain is.
Yeah, so Michael Bay, like I said, he's got this jingoistic American thing, and part of that is, you Russians.
Yes.
You Russians, we don't trust you. Although, he does do something against the grain, and Lev, which is his name, he kind of saves the day.
Because he's like, I'm going to throw a woman out of the way and start banging on this. And somehow that fixes it.
Yeah. All right. What's ludicrous? This is our special section we added. This was the stuff that was way beyond what doesn't hold up. It's ludicrous. I'll start. NASA allowing anybody but their own people up? No way. I'm just not buying it. There is no way they'd send up these guys.
NASA has a wide variety of staff that work for them that are well trained in a wide variety of things, including geology and their rovers were picking up and drilling into things. By this time, they didn't need Bruce Willis.
This actually comes up in the commentary. You remember when DVDs first started getting commentary tracks? The commentary tracks were great. So there's a great exchange on the commentary track of this DVD between Ben Affleck and Michael Bay. Ben Affleck starts talking about the plausibility of this. And he says, he asks Michael Bay, why is it easier to train oil drillers to become astronauts than it was to train astronauts to become oil drillers? And Michael Bay's response was, shut the explicative up.
Yeah.
And Ben Affleck said, okay. Because Michael Bay said so.
So something that I noticed that was beyond absurd that piggybacks off yours. They're not letting Bruce Willis's crew just tear apart the rover and say, oh, you don't need this, yada, yada, and starts
Get these hoses out of here.
Everything off. And I'm like,
this is $1 billion vehicle, probably.
Hundreds of millions at least. And they're not people that know how machinery and fluids work in the vacuum of space with next to zero gravity. There is some gravity, but not the gravity that we have here on Earth. It's not the same amount. You just assume that everything's going to work like it should like that. But no.
Yet never mind that they build 2 shuttles that are, for the time, futuristic. Nothing like it. Those are $1 trillion vehicles, probably. And to think that NASA would not consider that at all, the government would have let them do that. Look, if they save the world, then that money's going to have to come from somewhere. And I guarantee you our government would think about that. The plan is implausible. It's just nuts. It's so hard to suspend disbelief when it comes to the plan. First of all, they just had these 2 shuttles ready to go for a rainy day.
They were planning on going to Mars.
I think that's the most hilarious part.
Another absurd thing that deals with this. Okay, so we know Steve Buscemi was an MIT person.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis has a patent that is supposed to be able to he has a drill that can work on Mars.
Yeah.
That's what the patent's for, is a drill that will work on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done this while just I'm going to be an oil rig guy, but in my spare time, I'm going to make patents for the U.S. government.
How rich is Harry Stamper in this movie? Would this dude, are you telling me, is this guy a billionaire?
Well,
in this movie?
That's the thing is so his position, although it is a very real position, he would be employed by Exxon or someone. Some major oil company is hiring him to find the oil. And
drill. But he wouldn't be there anymore. He's much too important. If he's inventing
NASA
state-of-the-art drills, this dude doesn't have to be on the rig anymore.
Yeah.
All of that is really hard to believe.
And then he's like, you know what I'm going to do on this rig that has combustible fuels? I'm going to start firing my gun.
Yeah, he goes Mega Dad.
Yes.
He goes Giga Dad.
Tries to take out the Affleck.
He's really shooting at him. Yeah, on an oil rig.
Yeah.
that just moments later will be spewing flammable liquids
Crude.
all over the place. Texas tea.
Yes.
Yeah. So the plan is wildly ludicrous. Trailing a comet. So they slingshot around the moon.
Yes.
And the whole plan is they're going to come up from behind the comet that is literally spewing debris. There's no way. There's no way, Cody.
But there was a way.
How does one of the shuttles get completely decimated and the other one somehow makes it through?
Made it through, and like, oh my goodness, somehow Steve Buscemi is familiar enough with the surface of that asteroid to know, we missed the landing spot significantly. You're off by 26 miles.
Yeah, well, he's on that quick. Also, the surface of that asteroid. When I saw upon watching it again last time, I'm like, oh, did Tim Burton help design this? What is happening there? I've seen pictures of asteroids, Cody. They don't have stalagmites. What was that about?
Because this one was made of pure iron.
I mean, well, they go back and forth. They do mention that it's like a comet, right? Not just an asteroid, not just a meteor.
At one, they keep going. Yeah, like you said, they changed their wording because one time that asteroid's the size of Texas, Mr. President.
Oh, so okay. This might be the most ludicrous. So the one shuttle goes down.
Oh, yeah.
Completely wrecked. Half the crew dies. The pilots die like immediately. Owen Wilson dies. Very sad. Somehow, Ben Affleck, Liv, and
John Coffey.
Michael Clark Duncan, yeah, his character, Bear, they all make it, right? In what is maybe the most ludicrous part is Ben Affleck. Like, they're shuttleless. They have no idea. Like, they pretend to know how far they are away from the other shuttle, although I don't know how they would know that. It's unexplained how they know, like, oh, they're 8 miles away from us. Like, what? How would you know?
Because, like, everyone and their mom has lost signal with Ben Affleck's crew.
So Ben Affleck pulls a Mean Girls. He's like, get in, losers. I'm getting us out of here. I'm like, what? Where are you going? How do you even know the direction to go? How?
Well, they even bring up a point of there's no roads out here.
You are on an asteroid. Where are you going in this tank?
And God bless him. He's like, have you ever heard of Evel Knievel? And I'm like, don't you do it, Ben. Don't you do it. And they did it. And somehow the Russian guy survives this because he has to get out of
He's outside of
this free flying, floating rover tank.
They jump over a canyon. They have intermittent thrusters going on. I don't know. That was amazing. And then when they land, did you notice the terrain changes? Everything we've seen in this asteroid has been like spiky. And then all of a sudden they're just on this flat part.
Well, according to Steve Buscemi and the NASA guys early on, there's a soft spot. Oh. And they're trying to land on the soft spot. And then they overshot the soft spot, which doesn't tell me how Ben Affleck still got there.
I'm just trying to put myself in their position. And he's like, get in, losers. Like, where are you going? I yelled it at my TV. Like, where are you going? Like, were you going to drive him home?
So this song hadn't come out yet, but it would have been perfect to have Dave Matthews Band, Where Are You Going, playing.
I thought you were going to say Fast Car by Tracy Chapman.
That song existed.
You got a fast car. I got a ticket to anywhere.
So I will also point out the absurd thing Because Michael Bay, America.
Oh, man.
There are guns on the rover.
Yeah, why? Yeah, he blasts their way out of the shuttle wreckage.
Yes, and he does it through an American flag and then ramps through the hole that he shot, and it's like,
that's
America.
Literally, I think that sequence is the most offensive part of the entire movie. that is the part where that's where it goes full Kid Rock. It's just that is bonkers. And I think I laughed all the way through that sequence. It's just crazy.
I know I did.
Should we move on?
Sure.
Are there any biblical themes in the movie?
Okay, so
There are.
There are, and I wanted to slap the president really early, or I wanted to slap him when he's doing his speech to the world, because evidently the president's the only one that can speak to the whole world about this. What we call from the Bible Armageddon is happening to us now, and I'm like, no, because Armageddon, or the hill of Megiddo,
right,
is a biblical place in, I think it's in Palestine, actually, but somewhere in the Middle East around Israel.
Yeah.
And
it's in the borders of Israel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And literally, it's where a battle between good forces and evil forces take place in the book of Revelation. Shun, not shuns.
So that's not what was happening right then. He was wrong.
He
Incorrect,
was
sir.
dead wrong, and it ruins the whole movie title. Oh, it was obnoxious. It was bad Bible.
This dude, it should be teaching Sunday school somewhere. Wow. Yeah, he was way off. No, sir, that's not what's happening at all.
I know Armageddon in the Bible, in the book of Revelation. It's at the end of times, and I guess that kind of works. But no, there's a very specific thing that's happening within that book.
Scriptwriter J.J. Abrams thought it sounded metal. That's metal.
JJ.
There's prayers that happen.
There are.
Yeah. Chick says amen.
He does.
So there's prayers. There is
a big biblical theme.
Yeah, there is the imagery there of Armageddon, end times, but minus the whole, Jesus coming back, rapture, any of that stuff.
We get it in the form of one Bruce Willis.
That is full Christian name.
I like to think so. But no, Bruce is willing to sacrifice it all for all of humanity. So his baby girl, Grace, which is a biblical name, can marry AJ, who that's not a biblical name. And his love is that he's willing to lay down his life for his friends and family.
Oh, man. Yep.
And all of humanity.
Do we want to talk about the end scene?
Sure.
Do we want to insert that here?
Let's do it.
I've been known to cry at that scene. So they draw straws.
Yep.
Because it's damaged. Someone's going to have to detonate the nuke manually.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Affleck draws the short straw. But Bruce made a promise to his daughter that he was going to get her fiance home safely.
And he was going to get home safely.
And he double crosses him. He shoves him into the thing and locks it and sends him on his way. And then Ben Affleck
ruins his air hose.
Does the best acting of his career.
Oh, yeah. This is the scene where Ben completely sells out finally.
He's ridiculous in the rest of the movie, but this scene, I'm in it, and he makes me cry. No, Harry, I love you. I love you. Oh, man.
So
Niagara Falls. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I totally cry.
It's when they're taking volunteers to see who will stay behind. That I tell Leah, I'm like, you're going to cry. And she's like, no, this movie's pretty absurd. And
like she's playing it cool.
And then they draw the straws, which that whole scene's absurd as well.
Why is Rockhound drawing a straw? The man's got space dementia. You can't trust him.
And literally the Russian guy's like, well, I'm not going to not volunteer and be the Russian guy that came home and made the Americans look good. Come on.
I think you got your volunteer. He wants to do it. Why are you drawing straws?
Well, 3 or 4 of them are like, well, if you're staying, I'm staying. And I'm like, no, it only takes one.
I know. Yeah. It was weird.
Which then like Bruce Willis gets pelted by like a dozen small fragments of meteor. And he's like, oh, I can still push this button after crawling out of a hole.
The end of it. Man, that scene though. Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis are just sold out at that point. They're so into it. Tears, real tears.
And then Bruce Willis talking to Liv Tyler. And like at first, all NASA's watching, and I'm like, give her some space. And then she's about ready to cry because that's how she looks all the time. And then Bruce Willis has the single tear.
The single noble tear. Yes. Yes. Oh, man. And then the other part at the end, that's chef's kiss. The patch.
Oh, yeah.
He sends the patch back for for Billy Bob.
I don't know what Billy Bob's going to do with it.
I'm like, that's not an Oscar. He clearly deserved an Oscar, but okay. He'll take the patch. Oh, man. Yeah, they were great. They were great. Who's the winner of this movie? This is hard. This one's hard.
No, this one's easy.
It's
is
easy.
A cakewalk.
Okay.
Aerosmith. Aerosmith is the winner of the movie. So they have several songs that play throughout the movie. But then they have their number one hit, I Don't Want to Close My Eyes, be the official theme song of this number one blockbuster that made $500 million. And it relaunches their career a little bit. So much so that Cody gets his favorite Aerosmith song after this. Might not be their best, but it's my favorite, Jaded. Comes out like 2 years after this. So because Armageddon was a successful movie, Aerosmith was continued to be viewed as a band that you could cash in on. And so
this is amazing. It's hard to explain to people who were not around or not old at this time just how big that song and the soundtrack were. I don't want to miss a thing.
Yeah, I don't want to miss a thing.
Huge. And like what's crazy about it is like it's Aerosmith's first number one song. Their first, like one of their first hits is a way better ballad. Dream On.
Yeah.
Way better ballad than this one. But this one just hits. And I think it's because of the ludicrous love story that's taking place in this movie between Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler's characters, including a bonkers scene that involves animal crackers.
Yeah.
That is just bonkers.
Do you think someone somewhere else is doing this? No.
She says, do you think anyone else is out there doing this exact same thing right at this exact moment? Yeah, no. Everyone screams at the movie theater. No, nobody is doing this. This is weird.
Oh, and Ben's like, I hope so.
Then what are we trying to save?
So this song was so big, there was a country music version of it, cover of it. Mark Chestnut
Total junk.
And it goes number one because this song still had staying power.
Oh my goodness. And everybody can be like, yeah, I didn't like that song. But if it started playing right now,
I could sing.
Y'all be singing right like, don't want to close my eyes. You'd be singing right along with it. Don't even pretend you wouldn't be.
So as soon as I started watching this movie with Leah, I just randomly burst out in this song.
They play it a lot.
Yeah.
I forgot how much it happens in the movie.
So I looked up something. about this because I did a little research. So in 1997, Diane Warren was watching Barbara Walters interview James Brolin and Barbara Streisand, Babs as we like to call her.
Yes.
Brolin said he missed Streisand when they were asleep. And Diane Warren, wrote down the words, "I don't want to miss a thing," before there was even a song. And so she wrote this song. And then it gets to Aerosmith. And like, so she's a country music like singer-songwriter. And they're like, when we first heard it, it was just a demo with piano singing, and it was difficult to imagine what kind of touch Aerosmith could put on and make it their own. But as soon as we began playing it as a band, it instantly became an Aerosmith song.
I think you have ruined the song for all time for me.
Yeah.
I had no idea that it's inspired by James Brolin's love for Babs.
Barbara Streisand.
Wow. That's some trivia right there. That's amazing. Winner of the movie, I can't argue with that. It is unbelievable how big that song became at that moment.
Yeah. And I want to know, like, is it because Liv Tyler's in the movie that they're like, Liv, talk to your dad. Can we get his music? Because they play like 3 or 4 Aerosmith songs.
It's also a little weird that her dad's voice is singing out while she's like in that kind of intimate scene
with the animal crackers.
Sort of weird. Because we all know it's Steven Tyler's daughter.
Like that music video, was it Crazy that she was in? With Alicia Silverstone.
Yes. Yeah.
That one, it's also weird that she's doing what she's doing in that while her dad's singing.
Yeah. Yes. They had done it before with her.
Yeah.
Because she kind of gets her start in Aerosmith videos. So Steven Tyler uses his daughter Liv in the music videos for a couple of their songs. Then she's in Empire Records, I think.
I think so.
It's like the first kind of time she kind of gets big. Yeah. Alicia Silverstone too that's kind of her start in the Aerosmith videos. A lot of people don't remember that. The Go Get 'Em Next Time award. Is there a loser in this movie? Who's the loser of this movie?
Oh yeah, there is.
Oh, you're pretty sure. I'm with you on the winner. So yeah, give me the loser.
Stephen Buscemi. Because upon rewatch, you become like the ultimate slime ball.
And it's even more sad when you realize he took the role
to escape
to get out of the sleazeball roles, and then they turned it into it because it was him. It was like, oh, come on.
Oh, like my wife, she was doing a running countdown of like, this hints that he's a pedophile. This hints that he's a pedophile. He shows Liv Tyler in a bathroom after he buys her the feminine hygiene products, how to use the feminine hygiene products.
No.
And
so cringy.
He has that running joke, and when he blows all $100,000 on the lady at the club, he's like,
yeah.
How old are you?
That should have been in our scenes that don't hold up, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole segment with a gentleman's club that is just cringy. Yes. Nobody's naked, but it's cringy. I wouldn't want my kids to watch it. Like, it was cringy. Cringe City. Oh, my goodness. I'd forgotten about it.
So Steve Buscemi, unfortunately, who I am a huge fan of, primarily because he's Donnie.
Well, right. Like... especially when you contrast it with, like, he's apparently one of the nicest dudes ever.
Oh, yeah. And after 9/11, he goes and helps out as a firefighter.
Well, he used to be a fireman.
And so he's like, I'm going to go help serve my city. And so he goes to New York after that. And
by all accounts, he's a great dude. And yet over and over and over again, he gets cast as the slimy guy. And it's not fair.
It's not.
Poor Steve. You're right. Man, I can't argue with either of your picks.
I'm nailing it this time.
You are. I'm in full agreement. Poor Steve Buscemi. But even then, he's so good at it.
He is. So if your name's Steven, you were either a winner or a loser today.
Final question. is this movie good? Is this movie good? Like, listen, I want to say no, this movie's terrible, but I kind of enjoy watching it.
So
What's happening here?
my wife is in your camp that like she knows it's bad.
Oh, it's so bad.
And yet I know since we've been married, she's at least watched it 3 or 4 times. Now, I guess maybe it is like a high budget version of Sharknado. Although Sharknado is so absurd and campy that you know that it's trying to be absurd and campy.
Yeah, so they lean hard into the camp.
Oh yeah.
I would say this is not camp. They're over the top serious.
They are, but
they're still leaning into that, like, we know it's ridiculous.
it is overtly ridiculous. Like, so when the shuttle crashes with Ben Affleck, and he's like struggling to get the door off him, I'm like, you got reduced gravity. Like, one little thrust and this should be kind of hovering.
Yeah. Like, the movie I kept thinking about comparing it to was Independence Day.
Oh, yeah.
Which has the same kind of flavor. But there's something missing from Independence Day that this movie has. And I guess
several great actors.
Well, Independence Day has some great character actors, though.
It has some good ones.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Good, not great. Like, this has the whole stable pretty much in this is incredible. Like, there's some major character actors who are on screen for like a minute and a half tops.
I'm like, where is the general? I needed more of his wisecracks.
So if this movie is good, does it force us to define what makes a good movie? I mean, we're sitting here. Let's compare it to the MCU in Phase 4, where largely we're disappointed.
I was not.
Largely, most people were disappointed. But there's something about this movie, like, so clearly it's not that it's, you know, that's ridiculous, because you can make a ridiculous movie and it can be enjoyable. I don't know. This movie forces me to kind of reconsider what makes an enjoyable experience out of a movie.
So for me, it's not a good movie. But for me, in 1998, I really didn't care for the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, because most people I knew loved it.
So 9-year-old Cody, who was all about the Chicago Bulls and all things sports, like, this wasn't it for me. And like, upon rewatching it a few times after it's come out, it never was my thing. But I could see people saying it's a good popcorn flick. It's what Top Gun is.
Yeah.
In which are both of these movies, because now I won't say Top Gun is, but
the new one.
I know several people would say that Top Gun 1 and 2, or Top Gun Maverick, are propaganda films, are United States military propaganda films. And this was a NASA U.S. military propaganda film.
Was it, though? The military's kind of played as the bad guys here.
They are, but NASA's part of the military budget.
Yeah, the NASA guys are good guys, but the military are the bad guys because they try to activate the bomb. And, you know, like, Bruce Willis has to make the impassioned plea to the military space guy in space.
They didn't have Space Force yet.
Promise me, even though you're 8 hours behind schedule, that you'll make that depth. I will make that depth on my daughter's life. I'm like, you can't promise that. You can't promise that.
Grace does not appreciate that, Harry.
He had no way he could promise that in that moment.
Especially considering that Steve Buscemi identified that we're drilling through iron.
They 57 feet. That's where they were at. They needed 800 when he makes the promise.
We're a little under 750 feet away. So,
all right. I don't know. Was it a good movie or not? What do you guys think? Listeners, chime in. Is Armageddon good? If so, does it make you reconsider what makes a good movie?
Was it more the soundtrack that was good?
The soundtrack's unassailable.
So
Unassailable. It got played out. Everyone got tired of that song eventually, but you can't argue that song was a hit, mega hit.
It took 2 years to get played out. Y2K had to happen.
It was that song and a bunch of old songs.
Yeah.
But that song, all right. Tell us what you thought of Armageddon and the questions and the good stuff and the laughable stuff and the ludicrous stuff on the social media posts for this pod. Thank you so much for listening. As usual, make sure and subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you are subscribed, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And hey, do us a favor. Wherever you listen to the podcast, make sure you give us a good rating. If you're not going to give us a good rating, don't review us, please.
Please.
We'll be honest.
Thank you.
Give us a 5-star rating. And if you're where you're listening, you can review. Give us a short little honest review. Say, hey, I really love these guys. These guys make my week. Something like that.
Yes.
Don't let me write it for you, but just saying. Hey, we'll see you guys, God willing, next week.
God willing.
Pop Culture Pastor. Pop Culture Pastor.